Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted to be here today as we debate these two very important pieces of legislation. In the Bahamas, they have been a long time coming. But I have to say to the Honorable Attorney General who says that the FNM good at talking, but not good at doing. I have to say that, you said that these bills were around, talk of land adjudication and land registry were around from the 1960s. Some people had the sense to 1800s, as we've just heard from the good senator. Your party has been in office for nearly 40 years. In the last few years, yeah, we have been in office, I believe, and actually you, to date, you've been in office for 39 years. We have been in office, I think, 3 full terms under Prime Minister Ingram. That's 15 years and 4 years and 3 months under the last FNM administration. So, yeah. No, I'm only.
He listened to himself.
No, I'm only speaking about the free national movement. I'm only speaking about the free national movement. And so when you, it is actually complimentary that you would compare us to your party, which has been in power for 40 years, right? To say what we have done and have not done in this wonderful country of ours. I wish to begin though by, Mr. Chairman, by thanking the Free National Movement's leadership and the Candidates Committee for reposing in me confidence to ratify me for the wonderful South Beach constituency. Yeah. And I'd also like to use this opportunity to thank the people of South Beach for the warm embrace that I have received thus far, Mr. Chairman, in that regard. It has been a wonderful experience thus far. You can see that we cleaned up the toilet on Bougainville Park, and the next day, beaches and parks were there. They painted it up and they closed it up, so we don't know what's inside. But we hope it'll be open soon to the public in South Beach, so that mothers and children, when they walk in the park and play in the park, which needs some repairs, ought to be done. We'd also like to extend condolences to the family of, I call him His Excellency, Harvey Tynes Casey, a wonderful man that I've had the opportunity to work with whilst at the AG's office. Obviously, he was on the opposite side most times with these constitutional matters that Justice Klein and I were a part of. He was a brilliant scholar, a contribution to his country and to his craft. I knew William Bill Wallace personally, an extraordinary accountant. When I first moved here, between living in Grantstown and South Beach, he frequented my uncle Kurt Smith, who had a gas station right there in Grantstown by the church in Hay Street. And they were lodge brothers. And so he was always very kind, very pleasant, and very encouraging. And I extend my condolences to his family. I also extend condolences to the families of those in Abaco who lost, tragically, those young men in Haiti. Despite what they may have been allegedly involved in, they're still family, and they will be missed. And so we extend to you from this place, as we've done privately. I know the family in Sandy Point, where my wife is from, personally. So I extend to the Russells from this place a heartfelt condolences. Ronnie, I had to miss your sneakers ball, Senator Duncombe. Of course, I apologize to you, and I do so here now again. And after hearing the chairman speak about it, I know that I missed a wonderful time, because we can't speak enough about the good work that you're doing with the young men. The students that are working with us in the parliamentary office this year, we thank you. And you know, it was a nice lesson from Reverend Higgs, right, who talked about Adonai and doing in office what you should be able to live with when you're out of office. A former prime minister from our side often said to us, and says to us continually when you speak with him at times, when you're in office, make policies and laws that you are able to live with. England. When you are out of office, and that is sage advice, and the advice that we got from the Reverend this morning. You know, Mr. Chairman, it is our considered view that these land registration bills are widely supported by the Bahamian community, and despite, you know, the barbs and the picking and nitpicking on the other side, right? We by and large, we agree. We agree that this is the right way to go for the Bahamas. It is the best thing for all of us. We also appreciate that, you know, as indicated by an attorney just in just now, she did the research and found that the fees are not less because you have a land registry. And so we want to allay the fears of those in practice, right, in the industry. Huh? Yeah, you know. So allow me at the outset to say that we support the principles of land registry designed to mitigate against what we deem to be bad actors in this very important industry in the country, particularly those who seek to, and you've heard some of that, who seek to deprive the most vulnerable among us of what is rightfully ours. You know, we can't continue to simply ignore those who knowingly assume that they can come and build on Crown land in the Bahamas without permissions. And we've seen far too many of that. Both administrations that have been in office are equally as guilty for allowing it. It seems like we just stand in something in law we call laches and acquiescence. We just stand and watch in the face of it as these, you know, unpermitted, non-permitted, illegal structures go up, and then we suddenly find ourselves in a place where we hear from the Bahamian people who say how difficult it is for them to get a piece of Crown land to build on. And strangers could come to their country and do so with impunity. But for there to be confidence in the system, there must be consistency. The rules must apply equally and to all. You cannot come here and disrespect and flaunt our laws while Bahamians and others who come here to do it the right way try to get it done. We've heard it said here today as well, purchasing land and building on it, be it a home or a business or even a church as a collective does from time to time, will likely be the largest investment Bahamians will make, you know, in their lifetime. So currently, the professionals and others involved in the land transaction trade, they readily acknowledge that there are historical and systemic issues in the administration of land in the Bahamas that must be corrected, and hopefully these bills will get us on a positive path to doing so. Several natural challenges in land dealings include issues related to property rights, you know, land information, and the transaction itself can be tedious and long, and clients often don't appreciate all of the loops that you have to jump through to ensure that they have a clean piece of document that won't come back to haunt them a few years, or us, lawyers who practice in conveyancing and law of property, they won't come back to haunt us down the road, because we have seen instances where one parcel of land had been sold over and repeatedly. Sometimes it's not knowingly, but it happens. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And these disputes can lead to delays and fraudulent activities, you know, among them. It is not uncommon to hear these stories as you move about. Additionally, inadequate land administration leads to poorly maintained land records, uncertainty of titles, unavoidable litigation, and more. Mr. Chairman, the Land Adjudication Bill 2025 and the Registered Land Bill 2025 are intended to address many of these issues. And we pray Godspeed and that we're able to have some good documents entered onto the register and people can have confidence when they go to do land transactions. These include, but are by no means limited to, the cost of the land transaction, some of the benefits, readily verifiable ownership of land and simplified conveyancing process, a more efficient and secure land market, and much more. Mr. Chairman, a properly managed and functioning land registration system will also serve to inspire confidence and reliability of marketable titles in our country. As such, we support modernizing land dealings in our country, but at the end of the day, such a system must be built on a foundation of unequivocal and absolute trust, transparency, and integrity if it's going to be embraced by Bahamians and foreigners who conduct land transactions in the Bahamas. The business of land dealing has become stigmatized by stories of corruption, underhanded dealings, which scare off potential transactions in many of our family islands and elsewhere in the country. And so we hope by passing these pieces of legislation that we will inspire people to know that you are getting a good, clean, marketable title. And you don't have to be afraid of our system or of someone coming to you 10 years down the road and challenging you for your presence on a piece of property that you rightly belong to or not belong to. The Land Adjudication Bill will hopefully address the long-standing challenges associated with land disputes, unclear ownership, boundary ambiguities, and informal occupation of land by establishing an orderly, efficient, and transparent system for the identification, demarcation, and recording of land ownership and interest. I would prefer the legislation to use verbiage or language like illegal occupation of land, instead of informal occupation of land. But it's just a matter of semantics, I suppose. I've seen in many parts of this country with the establishment of the irregular communities, these are illegal occupation, illegal occupiers. They're not informal, in my mind. They are illegal. And we must continue to call them what they are, illegal, irregular communities that were built in the Bahamas on Crown property, most of them, on private property, without permissions, right? And so we must hold then ourselves as a government accountable, and we must also hold private landowners accountable for allowing these things to happen on their property. Irregular communities, as opposed to this palatable language espoused by NGOs and others concerned with settling illegal migrants and others. As foreign minister, I had cause to remove from this country an operative of the Human Rights Commission who, after Darren, went into North Abaco and facilitated the rebuilding of such communities. Yes, literally facilitated it. And I summoned him, and I said, you are persona non grata, myself along with the Minister of Immigration, Elizabeth Johnson at the time, and we got the cabinet to agree that he be recalled from this country. And he was under the impression that, of course, I'm helping migrants. I said, but you can help migrants, but follow the laws of our country. I said, you must leave, and you must leave forthwith, because we do not encourage law breaking. And you saw what happened in Darren. You saw what happened in fires in some of these communities. The trucks can't get in to put out the fires, Mr. Chairman. You saw the loss of life in Darren. And, the tale is there to be told. So this fellow was openly and deliberately encouraging and rebuilding irregular communities. We can't tolerance that. We have no more tolerance for that. We must become, on both sides, I believe, more aggressive and not allowing these things to take root because of the law and because of the inherent dangers associated with such communities. We must. You know, Mr. Chairman, it often amazes me how slack we can be with those who operated with impunity in this country of ours, on the one hand, and how tough we can be on Bahamians trying to hammer out a reasonable existence in their own country on the other hand. And we come to the place now where some Bahamians have taken it upon themselves, if they get a letter back from Lands and Survey saying, I acknowledge your application. You know, I see the ministers laughing. Some Bahamians have taken it upon themselves to say, I'm going to build as well. Now, we don't encourage illegality in any form, but we understand what Bahamians are thinking when they come to that place and say, you know, you acknowledge my letter for my application, I'm going to build. Because I've seen others come here without a letter of acknowledgement and proceed to build and do so quite, you know, effectively, right? Now, I don't know if the government is able to answer this, but I recently saw a letter, and this is to do with land and properties. I recently saw a letter from a foreign company purporting to be acting on behalf of the Inland Revenue Service and the Ministry of Finance. And the letter is entitled, I have a copy of it, Mr. Chairman, I lay it for your edification, for the edification of colleagues. The letter is entitled Delinquent Short-Term Rental Tax Notice, and it raises several questions for me and for many others in the public who have voiced their concerns with the document. At issue, the letter is in fact, the letter came from what appears to be a foreign entity with no announcement or interaction from the government with the Bahamian people and others as to the objective before introducing such a broad-based initiative. Mr. Chairman, it appears that this initiative is geared toward targeting properties not occupied by their owners and that are used for short-term rentals. I think one senator reminded me that a short-term rental is regarded as 45 days or less, such as can be found on platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo. However, you know, if the government is seeking to check the qualifications for registration by such owners, there ought to have been an announcement of some kind. And if there was an announcement, and it seems many of us missed it, Bahamians should have been told who the foreign partners were, what the exercise is about, and who was being targeted. And in fact, we should have been told who had to respond to this letter. This could have been done through a proper public education campaign. Whatever happens in the Bahamas to good old-fashioned town hall meetings when designed to discuss such issues with the Bahamian public and others with direct interest. In my view, whatever the motivations, it is highly inappropriate and irregular to have a foreign entity interface with your citizens without a proper explanation. I mean, you know, we see what goes on in social media and all of these things that come out that are fake news, and I was hoping to see somewhere with this one some fake news, but the letter, Mr. Chairman, does not have a date that I see affixed to it. It is from a company called Avenue Short-Term Rental Notice, and it says at the top, on behalf of the Department of Inland Revenue, the Ministry of Finance, and the address is P.O. Box 830471, Birmingham, Alabama 35283. And as I indicated, the heading is the Department of Inland Revenue, Ministry of Finance, Delinquent Short-Term Rental Tax Notice. And it reads, Avenue Insights and Analytics has been retained by the Department of Inland Revenue, Ministry of Finance, to conduct a review on taxpayers' compliance with the tax laws applicable to short-term rentals. The primary purpose of this evaluation is to identify properties that may be operating without obtaining a business license and or collection of value-added tax, VAT. The Value-Added Tax Regulations 2014 indicates that the rental of any residential dwelling, single family residence, apartment, residential condominium, or other residential real estate for less than 45 executive days, you're correct, Senator, is a commercial rental establishment, and therefore VAT is payable on the rentals and must be remitted to the Department of Inland Revenue. I think I make my point. I'll table. This is a letter from a foreign entity to the Bahamian people, and the government has to speak to this at its earliest opportunity to say what this is about, what the objective is, who we need to answer, and why we got this. Now, that brings me to another point, right? Today's the 28th. The next point it brings me to is every Bahamian that I know today who involved in short-term rentals see it as an opportunity to finally be a part of a shareholder society, right? I have no qualms about paying taxes, right? But Bahamians are often required to work in institutions that focus on tourism, and these little rentals, Airbnb and Verbo and whatever you can put onto your house as you come to the age of retirement and be able to. And I see foreign people walking around my community, walking in my neighborhoods, right? And I'm so happy that they can walk through my neighborhood freely, unmolested, undisturbed by us, and go about their business. And you know, I have an adopted son who visited me from Poland. He actually stayed with me, Ronnie. You were aware of this. And he said to me, you know, I'm going to catch the bus. So I said, why don't you just take a car? Take the car. You know, you take my car, the wife's car, and he brought his girlfriend with him, his fiancée, Olga. His name is Santiago, Arca, you know, and he's actually from Argentina, but he lives in Poland where he works. Huh? Oh, I don't know exactly which part. I think he's around the capital area, right? And he was able to go and take a jitney safely. He learned the lingo on the jitney, right? Which no. How to pay, 5 for 2 or whatever this they say, right? Roman, you should know what that is, right? And so I say all that to say this. This is an opportunity, Verbo and Airbnb, in my mind, for Bahamians to participate firmly in the tourism trade, domestic and international. Because people come from the family islands, even people here who want to have a party somewhere in a house, privately with a pool that they don't have at home, they're able to go and rent and do things like that. I think we should be, as a government, encouraging people, helping people to be able to stand up these type of facilities in their homes or on their properties that will help them to earn an income from tourism, from their own patrimony that the foreigners come here and we give all kind of concessions to. All of us, we do it because we see it as an opportunity for us to get jobs for our people, and we readily do it. Sometimes we give them gross concessions, you know. And then the other one come and he said, you know, I want favored nation status as well. And what you gave to Atlantis, you got to give to Bahama, and what you gave to Bahama, you got to give to the cruise ship people who come over here on PI, because that's the way the business works. But these opportunities for Bahamians are rare when they can make money in the tourism industry. And I implore the government to find a way to look at this again, have another look at this, right, to ensure that what we're doing does not hamper Bahamians. Yeah, hamper Bahamians from doing what they're trying to do. And I'll cut this short, right? From your answer, Minister, I respect you very highly. So I know you're going to look into it or give us an answer that is palatable. Now I heard about, and as I conclude, I heard the AG talk about the website that these documents were on for so long, and the government guaranteeing a good title, which is what the law does. As I concluded, I wonder if, you know, because you also indicated that we need help with this, right? We need attorneys, more attorneys that could help us populate the register. And one thing that we saw when we were in office, we had issues with was surveyors. Surveyors is an issue, right? Surveyors is an issue because surveying causes the process of granting crown titles to be slowed immensely, right? And so we wonder if the government could talk more closely, if you haven't done so, with the Association of Surveyors, if you did, whilst doing this, getting ready for this project. And I know, it is not going to be an easy one. It is a mammoth task, but I believe like you do, that we can get it done. There's nothing Bahamians put their hands to that they cannot achieve. As it stands, we simply don't have the capacity, and we heard you say that, and I agree with you, to just jump in and get this done. But I want to suggest, on my feet, that, as I said to you privately, that perhaps government may want to consider beginning at the Crown land inventory, along with those subdivisions that the recent ones that you've mentioned, and that too will the latest fare that people have of our crown lands and survey being in disarray, because it's been that cry over all the years, and people come to that conclusion naturally because it takes so long to get things done. Such an undertaking would demonstrate, I believe, if you begin there with crown land and land that was compulsory purchased or acquired by the government, and you have land and government corporations, that we could just start populating the register, adjudicating those and getting those done. Such an undertaking, I believe, would also demonstrate government crown land records are not in a state of disarray, as most people believe. And with those few words, I thank you for your time and attention, and I rest.